Welcome back to the Gein Garage. Welcome all you mathematicians. Right, we're going to start our last topic of the year, and it's all to do with measure, kids, one of my favourites, and it's all going to be about measuring length. The distance from one place to another. How long something is, how tall something is, how wide something is, and it's one of my favourite things. You're going to need for this some way to measure something. Now, the most common thing that you're going to see is a ruler. Okay, here's just an example. You might have something like this. You might have only a short ruler. That's perfectly fine. You might not have a ruler, but you might have a tape measure. Perfect. And you might have something like this, which is particularly cool. I had one of these as a kid, and it was made of wood, super cool. I used to just love playing with it. Okay, and you can see it goes like that. It's obviously now made of plastic and much cheaper, but the wooden one I had that had little metal ends just lasted forever. Super cool kind of gadget, gizmo. You get these at any kind of hardware store out of wood. So we're going to talk about what measure is, and we're going to do some measuring. It's that simple. That's the plan. Now, what you're going to see on a normal ruler. Now, we'll start with this. When we're looking at measuring distance or measuring the length of something, we're usually talking about from one point to another. So I could measure the distance between my two fingers like this. Or if it was this way. Or if it was from my house to your house, we could measure that distance. Or we could measure how the distance from the floor to the top of my garage roof. We could do that too. So it's how far is it from one place to another. That's what we're looking at. Now, what you're going to find on most rulers, and I'm going to show this in a moment, there's two different kinds of measurements. And we'll have time to before the end of the year to go through both. One of them came over from Britain when lots of people emigrated from the UK, and that is something I'm sure you've heard of, with inches and feet and yards. Okay, only America uses that anymore. I think there might be like maybe 2 other countries, but the rest of the world use what we call the metric system, which I think originated in France. It's what all of Europe use. It's what most of the world now uses, and it makes loads more sense. By the time you have kids or grandkids, they probably won't be using inches and feet very much. Okay, it's gradually creeping in. But seeing as lots of the US still use inches and feet, then we're going to start with that. Now, we'll start with this. And I'm going to show this on the dot cam. Hope if I can turn it on. Great, there is my standard ruler. Okay, and what you're going to see on top of it, firstly, okay, you will see this. You'll see that there is it's going to start on 0 here, and it's going to go all the way up to 30, and then usually just a little bit past 30. Okay? That's on one side. On the other side, you are probably going to find that it starts on 0 here, but it only goes up to 12. Huh. Interesting. Well, one of them is what we call the imperial system, which is what you guys still use, the imperial system, and one of them is the metric. Okay, the imperial system, inches, feet, or 1 foot, and yards. Now, the metric system has what we call millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. Now, I'm going to forget this for now, and we're going to come back to that in a few lessons. So, you need to make sure that you understand. Now, if I just move in on my ruler here, you can see right here, I'm going to underline it right there. If I can zoom in, let's try that. There we go. You can see the word inch, and on a normal ruler that's 12 inches long. Okay. You'll also see on the other side, I've got lots of things on. Okay, you'll see a centimeter, and a centimeter on a normal ruler will go up to 30 centimeters, and you can see it right there. Okay, we're only going to be using to start with the inches side. So I'm going to zoom back out. Okay, so that you can see this. Now, the things that you need to know about feet, really simple, and inches. 1 foot, I'm going to get rid of this right now so that it gives me some room. So, and I'll post a little video of explaining this. I found a really fun one actually, which will help, but which isn't me but somebody else. But 1 foot is the same as 12 inches. Now, lots of people say, well, Mr. G, how much is an inch? Okay, an inch is from the 0 to the 1. That's how far an inch is. Now, I'm going to show you a really good way for you to remember this. Is if you get your thumb, okay, and you go from the end of your thumb, mine's a little bigger, but for a kid, if you look, you go from the end of your thumb to the end of your first knuckle. That will be about an inch. You'll see mine is like 1.5 inches, but for a kid, your knuckle's smaller. That's a really good estimate. And why do I like using that? I like using this bit here. Okay, I put it on the side from here to here. I like for you to have that because you carry this around with you. Okay? You carry this around with you. You might not have one of these. So you can always kind of estimate. You can look at, with your thumb, how far that is. Now, what else do you need to know? There's 12 inches in 1 foot, or 1 foot is 12 inches. It's the same thing. 3 feet, which is just the plural of a foot, equals 1 yard. Okay, and I'll put it over there, 1 yard. That's it. So obviously, 3 rulers put together equals 1 big long ruler. Okay, a yard long. And obviously that would be, if 1 feet is equal to 12 inches, that's going to be 12 plus 12 plus 12, which is 36 inches equals 1 yard. Okay? Pretty straightforward stuff. So, what I'd like you to do today, okay, what I'm going to ask you to do is simply to estimate and then measure. Now, you can have a look in, it's chapter 11, lesson 1, page 646. You can do that, or you can do your own. And I'll show you this really quickly. If you've got the book, great. If you don't, I'm not going to, I'll copy it for you, obviously. But you can see this here. This is like measure each object. Well, you might not have this in your house. Okay, it's just a chalk packet. So just, if you don't have that, cross it out, find something else, which is about the same size, and then you can estimate. Okay, oh, maybe it's, I don't have that chalk packet, but look, I've got a whiteboard pen, so I'm going to cross that out, and I'm going to just draw a quick whiteboard pen, and I'm going to do this. Okay, I'm going to estimate really quickly just to show you, and then I'm going to measure it. So there's my estimation. Okay, I'm going to say roughly, maybe the top of this is about 1 inch, so maybe 4.5 to 5 inches. Let's just say 5 inches to keep it easy. Or actually, no, I'm going to say 4.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to estimate that. And then I want you to measure it. Now, when you measure something, I probably didn't pick the right thing because that might roll a little bit. But when you measure something, you've got to be really careful. I'm going to turn it around, it's easier this way. So you'll notice on the end of your ruler, I'm going to zoom in, and this is the mistake a lot of kids make. Okay, there's two mistakes. I'm going to show you them both. Now, here we go. On the end of your ruler, you'll see that there's a little gap. Okay, a lot of kids, most kids, when they're not paying attention, will line this up so the end of that is actually further than 0. The reason that they put this extra bit is so that, on most rulers, not all rulers, it's so that if this bit on the end gets damaged over time, you can still line it up there. So can you see that I've lined that up as close as I can? I'm going to get it directly underneath so that you guys can see. So I'm lining, whoops, sorry, it's a little tricky to work when it's just so zoomed in. So I've lined it up exactly on the 0, not here. The second mistake some kids do, they like to line it up on 1, and that would be incorrect as well. So to measure it, you're going to line it up here, like that, and I'm going to zoom out, okay, so that you can see, and there we go, I've lined it up, and actually, I was pretty close. Okay, is my estimating going to be better than yours? Yes, because I've done lots more of it in my life. And you'll see it's, if I just move it just a touch, you can see 4.5 is there, and 5 is there. So if I line it up exactly right, it's actually 4 3/4. 4 3/4. Okay, so 4 3/4 inches. So that would be my, so my estimate was 4.5, and my actual measurement was 4 3/4. Hey, I'm really happy with that. Do I expect you to get it right? Absolutely not. You probably won't get any of them exactly right. Okay, you probably won't get any of them exactly right. So you just do what you can. Now you're also going to see in between here that in between each inch you'll see a big line in the middle. Let me zoom in again. Okay, you're going to see, I'll do it between 1 and 2. You're going to see here you've got a big line in the middle, that's a half, and then you've got two slightly longer lines. That would be a quarter, that would be a half, that would be 3/4, and then you come to the, and then it would go to the next inch. So I'm going to say work to 1/4 inches, no more than that. Okay, no more than that. That's all you need to do. That's all you need to realize at the moment. You'll see the inch is actually divided into 16, so they actually use 16ths, which is really unhelpful. It's horrible. Like it's absolutely horrendous, which is why it's obsolete or becoming obsolete, and they're getting rid of it. Because who wants to work in? Oh, could I have a piece of wood that's 3 inches and 5/16 long, please? Utter nonsense. So that's why they're getting rid of it, because it's really user unfriendly. So work just to, and I'm just going to write on here so you can see. Okay, if we're working between the 1 and the 2, this is the half. Okay, I'll put that, there's the half. This one is the quarter, and this one is 3/4. You don't need to measure any more than that. Okay? Not at this stage. Not at this stage. So, have a go at estimating, then have a go at measuring. And there's loads of things that you can do. So by the end of it, what we're trying to get you to do is we're trying to get you to have a good sense of how long an inch is. You can try and do bigger things. So for example, you could try, if I zoom out again, you might say, oh, I'd like to measure this whiteboard, for example. Or in fact, no, something bigger than that. You might want to measure the door. Well, I know a door is going to be bigger than 12 inches. Maybe you've got a tape measure which goes up to loads and loads and loads of inches. You can see all the way up. You see there's 3 feet. Oh, we can't see it. There's 3 feet. Okay, there's my yard. Okay, there's my yard. And it goes on. So you could use this. You might have to lay it down once. Mark it. Okay, with just your finger. So you're going to put, oh, there's 12 inches. And then move that over to measure the length of something. Okay, again. So, and then add them together. So lots of things to do. Hopefully you've got some kind of measuring. Okay. If not, there are loads and loads of things online you can find where you're estimating. If you just search for estimating game online. Do I want you to work online? If you have a ruler or a measuring instrument, the answer is simply no. Why? Because the learning is not as sticky. You play a game and it feels like, hey, this is really loads of fun. Yes, it is lots of fun. However, it's not as sticky in your brain. You won't learn as much if you do it online, on a tablet. Okay? It's bad for your brain growth to be staring at a tablet all day, every day. So, start to use these. It's super fun going to estimate. And if there's somebody else in your house that you could have an estimating challenge with, then that's great. That's great. Because you could say, okay, let's measure the ketchup bottle. Okay, we'll measure the height of the ketchup bottle. And you can both estimate, see who gets closer. Okay? It's kind of fun. So you could do it, just spend like 20 minutes, half an hour doing that. You don't need the textbook. You could just do it on a piece of paper yourselves. Write it down. Get estimating. Okay, once you've done some of that, there's a little bit of problem solving on page 648 you guys can have a go at. And if you've got time, go through the homework as well. Obviously it's more of the same as we know. Okay, more of the same. My advice is this. Try to start with, I'd like you to really use smaller objects. Okay? Smaller objects are going to be better just to get a grasp of how big an inch is. Okay? So, have some fun. Get measuring.